Welcome back. This is the FloTrack podcast. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is our email address. You can find the show on our YouTube page where we go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 a.m. Central. That's the FloTrack Podcast YouTube page. You can also download the show wherever you listen to audio podcasts. I'm Kevin. He's Gordon. Happy Monday morning to you, Mr. Mac. How are you doing?
Doing all right. I mean, Eagles won, which is always a great thing. As people know in this podcast, I love my Philadelphia sports teams. So Jalen Hurts looking like the next Russell Wilson out there. It was pretty good sighting. But the highlight, or I guess low light of the weekend was I fell on my bike. I got a little cut on my hand.
Oh, what happened?
I fell. I'm bad at biking. I'm not good, and my knee is the one that the major cut is at. Just not good at biking. I haven't mastered it yet at age 33. I need to work on it. No, I was turning and thought I could make a sharp turn, couldn't, and fall over. So,
how fast were you going? Was this a road bike or just a regular cruiser?
It's a cruiser, and I was on a bike sidewalk type thing, like a path, and I just wasn't good at it. And no one was around, so no one saw the fall. But then, 2 minutes later, there was like a jogger who jogged by and was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." So it was a little embarrassing.
That stings because they didn't need to say that. They knew you were okay because you had been riding for a while now, but they just wanted to turn the knife and let you know that they saw you.
Yeah.
What was the jogger your girlfriend?
No, it was not. It was a stranger.
Okay, that could have been a plot twist if it was. In which case, I apologize to the jogger for doing that because they actually were, in that case, expressing genuine concern. I'm really good at falling when I run, and I've gotten better over the years at trying to play it off because I usually fall in very public places, sidewalks that are parallel to major streets. So the cars aren't going to stop, but there's just a ton of cars going by. I remember the last time I fell, it was on Lamar Boulevard here in Austin, just scraped my hands up crazy bad. And I knew at least 5 cars saw what happened, but I like to pretend they didn't because they kept driving. But the reality was they kept driving because they're on a road going about 50 miles an hour. So, yeah, that's a little more embarrassing than the bike. I feel like people are used to the bike, seeing crashes on the bike.
Yeah. I just got the bike. I got the bike like 3 weeks ago, too. So, breaking it in already, literally breaking it in, yeah.
Is the bike okay?
Yeah, bike's fine.
Okay.
Knee, not
Bike's
so much.
Fine.
I didn't get some Neosporin on it.
I want to stretch this segment out so Travis could clip it because he likes to clip the things where you admit to doing embarrassing things and puts it up on the site before we're even done. Like Gordon cannot ride a bike, headline on FloTrack.
Okay.
It's just it's the small things in life that get me excited. I want to thank you for before we get into the show, turning me onto the show Clickbait on Netflix, of which I devoured all 8 episodes in an unhealthily short amount of time. A little disappointed in the finale. I won't spoil it here, but maybe we can do a spin-off pod where you recommend Netflix shows to me and I watch them way too quickly.
Yeah. It's fair. It's like 13 Reasons Why, but like it's the mayor of Easttown / meets 13 Reasons Why. That's what I think.
I think you told me about 13 Reasons Why too, which is what I did that one. That was a couple of years ago now though, which again, I don't think it was like none of these shows were like great television, but they're perfectly made for Netflix. They're perfectly made for binging because they do these twists in the last 2 minutes. And then before you know it, that bar moves so fast now, by the way, on next episode. Like originally you had to actually go back, find the next episode, click on it. Then the bar would move, I don't know, at like 8-minute mile pace. And now it's flying across this. It's like Sifan Hassan when your episode ends. It's like all the way. And I'm like, I don't even know if I want to watch it. And then all of a sudden you're in before you even really consented to doing it.
I like that tie in a track. The speed of next episode bar is basically a Sifan Hassan, where it used to be, you and your local 800 trying to break 230.
Yeah. Or maybe it was like the 400 hurdles a few years ago, and now it's the 400 hurdles today. Speaking of 400 hurdles, at the Continental Tour in Berlin, Gordon, we got to see Warhol, one last time for the season. What we believe to be the last time. We always have to say that because you never know. There could be late appearances here and there. But for the 400 hurdles, this looks to be it. I know he's run the national championships for a while. And 48.08. And I was curious. I watched this race. I was more curious to find this race and watch it than if he ran 47.08 because it's been a while since Warhol in a final has run 48 seconds. And I wanted to know, hey, how did this race actually transpire? How did he get to 48.08? Did he wait 1 second in the blocks to let everybody go first and then take off? Did he run 9 hurdles and then start skipping across the line? Did he do his typical Viking scream as he walked across the line? And it turns out he did none of that. He paced this out evenly. He ran this in a way that provided minimal embarrassment to his competition while also running, I would say, in second gear for him. He went out kind of quick, but then you could tell by the 200-meter mark that he was chilling out there and ends with a 48 low here, which you look at his post-Olympic performances of 47.3 and a 48.08. This is easy for him. This is way, way too easy for Carson Warhol right now.
Yeah, at this pace, if he runs a few more races, eventually you and I would be able to compete with him because look at that. It goes 47.3, 48.0. He's probably going to run a 48 high next, and all of a sudden he's running 49s and 50s. Before you know it, he's going to be going up against Sidney McLaughlin and Dalil Muhammad, like a mixed gender 4x400 meter hurdle relay or something. I don't know.
I know we're recording this on NFL Overreaction Monday, but I'll just throw this to you. This trend, should we be worried about Carson Warhol? Go.
We should be worried. Yeah, maybe. No, we should not be worried. I used to kind of be worried about Carson Warhol because you bring up the stat that he tweeted out. This is his third straight season of being undefeated. And when you have such a long win streak, the pressure builds, and eventually you think it's going to crack. Like, you don't win forever. Like, eventually it ends. The odds of him never losing a 400-meter hurdle race for the rest of his life is very rare. I mean, he could pull it off by being like, all right, I'm never doing it again, and just do a different event for the rest of his career, which would be kind of bold. Be like, hey, I was perfect. But that's the only worry I have for something like Carson Warhol in the next few global cycles. Not cycles, but global championships, is the pressure of never losing, right?
And here's the problem.
He's fit to run fast no matter what, but the question is he mentally fit to do a fourth straight season of winning, and then a fifth straight, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, and here's the problem. He happens to be in an event where the longest win streak of all time is Edwin Moses' 9 years of winning 122 races in a row. So the cost benefit analysis here is pretty skewed in one sense, because if you're going to commit to trying to go undefeated, he's got to plan on doing this for 6 more years to get near Moses versus I don't know, maybe he just prioritizes world records and racking up Diamond League wins. But do you think that's one of those marks that, like, do you see, I know unbeatable records are always a fraught discussion because nothing's unbeatable, but I mean, Moses, 9 years, 9 months, and 9 days, 122 races, including 107 finals. I'm reading from the Team USA bio here. Do you see anyone racking up in a track event a 9-year win streak?
Well, it depends. I mean, I wasn't around following Edwin Moses, but like, how many of those wins were legit wins? Like, and how many were like something like Carson Warhol doing this, where you are clearly better than the rest of the field, so no matter what, you're going to win, so you're able to cruise. And like, if Carson Warhol wanted to, he could probably put on 20 more 400-meter hurdles and like throughout a season.
Yeah.
And just like,
but if you're
and you run 49 seconds, get the win, move on. That's the question. Is like, a lot of these athletes now, they're running fewer times to against elite competition as opposed to more times against subpar competition. And I would love to know like how many times of those 100 plus Edwin Moses victories were legitimate, like against top 8 talent in the world versus, oh, it's an easy win. Or like Carson Warhol showing up to the Stanford invite to run the 400 hurdles.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the circuit, though, is what I'm saying. He's on the circuit for 10 years. Were there some races where, he didn't run every single race, but if you're talking about 122 races over 9 years, averaging more than 10 races a year, obviously, 1980 he wins the trials, but then there's the boycott. They don't start doing world championships until 83, right? Which is he wins the world title there. Then you go into 84, wins the Olympics. Yeah, I think the biggest obstacle. I mean, Moses' streak is insane. It's incredible. He won those titles. He was out on the circuit for that long. I think that the biggest obstacle to it, as you mentioned, is the frequency of racing. Because like you look at some of these seasons, you pull up Moses's some of Moses's years. I mean, he's running 10, 15 times consistently in the late 70s and into the early 80s. So just that level of racing is not as common. And you have someone like Warhol, but then you also have someone like Benjamin. Is it impossible that Benjamin beats Warhol over the next couple of years? Absolutely not. It's just a number that always sticks out to me. 9 years. It's crazy.
So Carson has won 22 in a row right now.
So he just needs 100, and he's got it.
Yeah.
All right.
His
right around the
last
corner.
loss was at the Ostrava Continental Cup, September 8th, 2018. Got third.
I do like the fact that I bring up 100.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that I bring up 122 straight wins, and your first reaction is, well, how many of those are legitimate?
Well, then, I mean,
it's 122. Even if 20 of them were not, you're still talking about 100 races in a row.
Yeah, but if 20 of them are not legitimate, like, then it's not, I don't know. You know what I mean?
No.
We don't like the sport is
run.
the scheduling is different then than it is now. It's different. So,
but I'm saying, say you didn't even, and a lot of these you didn't have major championships.
The competition's different. The depth is different. Like, was there a
100%, 100%, 100%? It was different.
Wasn't a Ride Benjamin chasing, Moses.
I'm just saying 9 years though. 9 years is Bolt didn't do 9 years. Kipchoge didn't do 9 years. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of time to stay undefeated. And you take world championships and Olympics out of it, just going through the Diamond League and being undefeated for that long is just something that I don't know. It's going to be a while.
Who was getting second in the Olympic final when Edwin Moses was running, and how fast were they running?
That's a question that I can pull up right here. So you want to look at like 84?
Sure.
So 84. I mean, it's not like his time. I mean, his times are really good. He ran 47.0.
Who was getting second? How fast was second?
Second. So he ran 47.75 at the Olympics. Danny Harris 48.13 for silver. And then if you go back to 83 and you pull up the World Championships, the inaugural World Championships, he ran 47.50. Harold Schmid ran 48.61. So he's ahead of his time. He's winning these races by solid margins.
Yeah.
Over the course of 9 years, there's definitely going to be races that you don't run where there was a chance someone could beat you. But all that being said, when you look at it with the benefit of history and you see that number, because we look at Warhol as this dominant figure who's come in the clutch so many times, and you said he's run, 22 in a row?
Yeah.
So he's got to get 100 more. That's just, I don't know. That's a long time to stay healthy and be out there and running that many races too. Anyway,
true.
Moving on. Bracey. You want to talk about Marvin Bracey here in Berlin? 995, bunch of false starts in this race, but Bracey looked really solid again. You can count on him for a 9.9, Gordon. You can pretty much pencil Bracey in for a sub 10 performance every time he goes out.
Yeah, I mean, Bracey isn't going anywhere. He's another one of those guys who's going to be in the mix in 2022. in the kind of recalibrated 100-meter dash that we now know. We used to thought we had the calibration with it being Coleman and Lyles, but now the back from not the grave, but the healthy Bromell is a factor. Obviously, Curley becoming the dominant factor he is at the global stage. Bracey coming back, doing a second run here after making the Olympics in 2016. It's just deep. There's a lot of guys, and Bracey's still running 9.9 late in the season. He could have made that Olympic team, man. He was a 9.8 guy, and he had an injury, and he wasn't able to put together the trials, but he has the ability and the talent to make a global team. So he could be a guy who upsets a Bromell, who upsets a Curley, or upsets a Baker in the trials. I know everyone's like, oh, shoot. All right. This big gun all of a sudden is not on the world team. So
Yeah. I remember he ran the pre-trials in Miramar. He ran the 985, so then got on the radar, and then he runs the 10 flat in the opening heat, and it looked like it was trending that way, but picks up the unfortunate injury. Yeah, I mean, throw him in there. Only 27 still. There's still time. He had all those years off, too, so you'd think his career would go on a little bit longer. Just a tough time to run the 100. Tough time to run the 100 in the United States right now.
Yeah, so that's his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sub 10 of the year. And a bunch of those sub 10s were into headwinds too. 3 of the 6, half of them were into headwinds. So
I wish he had a chance at. I wish he had a chance at pre. That would have been fun to see with all those big guns out there running at the Prefontaine Classic. But still clicking them off, and if you can go sub 10 consistently, we talked last week. What's 2022 going to be? Is it going to be a 9.8 year, right? Or is it going to be a 9.7 year? Because if it's a 9.8 year, a lot of people have a chance for gold next year. You think it's going to be a 9.7 year, though, which I think would make it a little bit more exclusive, or would make it more exclusive territory. But if things get in the 9.8s again, like they did this year with the winning time, I think for trials and also at the World Championships, something like Bracey could factor in.
Yeah, you see fans back in mid-August, not
clamoring,
fans, but athletes clamoring for Bracey to be in pre. But the way that works, there's the whole Nike thing and rules and this, that, and the other thing. So
rules,
rules. I don't know. This stupid political this that agents.
Yeah.
This, oh no, you need this. Oh, too many Americans. All that. All that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. How about Kate Grace?
Hey,
ends her season with a win, 401. Just dominant last. Can we pull up, Travis, her last 250? This race was somewhat competitive. I don't know if we have it, but she just put the foot on the gas with about 250 to go and just blew this thing wide open. It was off a pretty conservative relative to recent Diamond League races. But yeah, you see this margin right here. We'll throw it up. But if you go back to just when they're on the backstretch, it was real close. And then she just decided to make a move and then left everybody in her wake. I was very impressed. I'm very impressed by Kate Grace's ability to bounce back and forth between the 8 and the 15 and the mile, and also her ability just to have this endless season go on forever, because I'm guessing at the beginning of the year, she had everything plotted out with the Olympics, doesn't make it, and then has to pivot to plan B. And here she is in September, still winning big races.
So obviously she's been doing incredible 800s, according to Emma Coburn. Her 10 sub 2s, 5 sub 159s, 4 157s. Pretty good. But more than pretty good. Beautifully good, some people would say. But now you're on 401 PB. I remember I made a comment that she chose the wrong event in 2019 when she did the 15 instead of the 8, because she could have made the 8 team. But now that the 8 has, Raven Rogers and a Thing Mo, who a Thing ain't losing in a long time, and Raven's a gamer who can make more world teams. And you look at the 1500, You kind of only
Yep.
look at really
Yep.
El Perrier as the only steadfast person for the next few years. Do you think Kate will then once again go back to the 15 away from the 8?
Yeah, you were right in 2019, by the way, and but that doesn't mean that you stick with that event. You have to go based on where the opportunities are, and if you're equal, would you say she's equally good in both, or I'd say a little bit better in the 8? Would we say, is that fair to say right now?
I would say she's better in the 8, but the question
Right.
is the
The
field,
team
though,
is
is
easier.
better in the
Yeah.
8. The easier
Yeah.
team to make is in the 15, Like, I mean, Kate
Yeah.
Grace is a 157 runner. You think she should be able to outkick Schlachterhoffen, Osika, McGee, Norris. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's easier to find a spot for Kate Grace in the top 3 in the 15 than it is to find her in the top
Yeah.
3 in the 8. So
Yeah.
maybe we should go
Which
back
is
to the
why
15 again.
yeah, I think both both if it's possible, and when it gets closer, if you have to choose one, then you look at the nature of the field, because you're right. 2019, the opportunities were larger in the 8. Now we get to 2022, the opportunities look to be, not for sure yet. We'll have to wait till we get closer, but opportunities look to be much better if you're an American woman in the 15 than in the 800. And if she keeps running like she is, I think she'll just gonna find her way on one of the teams or the other. Do you feel that way? If this is who Kate Grace can be next year in May and June and July, that she's gonna make a team.
Yeah. I wonder what events first in the if it's going to be possible to do both, because she entered both in 2019, but then scratched the 8 semis in favor for the 15 final,
Yeah,
and it didn't work out. You just want her to be able to not have to pick, like be able
yeah.
to not have to have a regret of like, ooh, maybe I should have done the other event. And I
I
was
think
all in
it's
on
gonna be
her being the second best 800-meter runner in the world. And now all of a sudden I'm like, don't even run the 8. Do the 15. That
800. Yeah,
makes
exactly.
sense.
Yeah. Taking advice from Gordon should be its own segment on the show, where you offer pro advice that you immediately retract.
Yep.
They have prioritized Eugene 2022 doubles for the actual world championship. And by doubles, I mean the common doubles, because we know the 4-8 double isn't possible because we looked that up, the thing for thing mo. But the 1-2, the 2-4, the 8-15, et cetera, are possible. So it would be weird to me if they made it possible for world champs, but they didn't make the 8-15 possible for trials. So I think she's going to be able to have the opportunity to do both, and I think she should keep that option open. In the same way, I mean, a lot of didn't. I mean, Martinez, I'm thinking of famously in 2016 at the trials when there was that big fall in the women's 8, and then comes back and sneaks in and gets it in the 15. There's been a lot of people who have gone for both and been unsuccessful in one, but made it in the other. So I think it's pretty straightforward that keep both options open for yourself.
Yeah. So what else happened this weekend, man?
Well, we can stay in Berlin real quick. Devin Allen won again. We could pull up his season. I feel like we just keep adding on to, and then he ran another 13-0, and then he ran another 13-0. And this time it was a 13-1, but a good win here over Ronald Levy of Jamaica. Allen's in this nice little sweet spot here where he's running 13-0 to 13-1 low, just over and over again. I'm no doubt he was buoyed by Oregon's win over Ohio State the day before. He put the O up at the start line there. But Allen, when he's at his best, really takes advantage of the distance from the last hurdle to the finish line. And like he has that nice little burst coming off that final hurdle, and he's able to eke out some of these wins. And I think that, in combination with just how technically sound and strong he's been over the hurdles themselves, have been a real difference maker. I think if you reran the Olympics now, I think he'd be a pick, obviously, to get into the medals, now that we've seen just how consistent he can be.
Yeah, he's quoted from the mix zone in Berlin. It felt good, not quite good as my race a few days ago, but still a fast time and great feel to beat Levy. the bronze medalists. It's always good to compete well against a good field. That's a very good, like, media trained answer. Very, like, vanilla, generic, just happy to be here so I don't get fined type answer. Oregon taught him well how to give
Yeah.
good quote speak.
Yeah. You brought up the fact that US could have 3 sub 13 guys next year. And I'm looking at, Allen's top 10 hurdle marks. 1303 from 2016. Then his next couple are from 2021, the 1306 and the 1308. It's on one hand, you're like thinking ceiling. Okay, has he already hit his ceiling? And he'll bang up against the 1303 a bunch of times, but he won't be able to do it. Versus the breakthrough. And if you run consistently at a 13.0 clip or 13.1 clip, eventually you're going to have that one big breakthrough race. What do you think it is for Allen? Like, was 13.03 the breakthrough, and then these times are just filling in the gaps there? Or do you think he's going to keep pushing on this barrier, and he'll get the right race in the right conditions and get sub 13 in his career?
Travis, could you go on his profile to his progression by year? Yeah, I just want to check out his 110 progression. So I think his 16 and 17, and you can argue his 14 for that matter, but his 16, 17, I felt like were very consistent. I think he was kind of a little banged up in 19, and I honestly think his norm is 13.10, 13.0, and I think that the fact that he got slower in 18, 19, 20, 20 you can obviously throw out completely, but I think that was just a fact of injuries and not having a full season from start, middle, and end. Because in order to run 13.0, same thing in any sprint event, you just need to have a really good season, start, middle, and end to like hit your true potential in any short sprint. You can't just kind of you can't miss 2 months of training and then show up and run 9.8. Like, that just doesn't happen. So I think 13.0 is what he's always been based on his 2016 and his 2021. So I do think a 12, he's going to run 12.9 before he's done. So next 2 years, probably the end of his prime. He's got 2 more years to do it, and I think it's going to happen.
All right. We should mention another highlight from Berlin. Valerie Allman breaks the American record in the discus, continuing this run of American success in the women's throws. We saw it at the Diamond League final last week as well, but Allman goes 71-16 for a massive, massive victory, and she cracks into the 71-meter mark, Gordon.
Yeah. She's good. Like you said, the women throwing in the U.S. from the shot all the way up to the hammer has been basically shot, discus, and hammer has been incredible. Kara Winger was pretty good in the javelin. She's kind of on the end of her career, but right now you have a woman in each event who can break an American record any given moment, and that's pretty incredible. So Allman doing it late in the season here in Berlin. Look at that little rockets going off when they throw the discus. It's like
I don't think
setting off a bomb or something when the discus lands. That's pretty
I don't think
crazy.
that worker was prepared. Did you see that? The worker who's going to run out gets kind of spooked here. You can't see it on that one because the rocket, you got to look for a lot of things if you're judging the discus, right? You got to be worried about the discus. And then they spring this rocket pyrotechnic shooting up from the ground at you. I think that was a little too much there. They got spooked. But yeah, back to Allman, 71-16. Yeah, you throw in what the U.S. has been doing in the shot. Obviously, the hammer, how they had a chance for multiple medals at the Olympics, didn't have a good day and didn't get any, but that doesn't change the fact of how solid they are. Had an American record this summer in the women's jav as well too. So you got some interesting storylines to follow next year for the U.S. and women in the throws. But 71-16, what her previous best was right at 70 meters, 70-15, and she threw a 70-01 this year. But this is only her third time over 70 meters. So Valerie Allman improves that American record out past 71 meters.
And if you throw up her Instagram one more time, Travis, put up on the screen.
Throwing it
You
up.
gotta love her hashtags that she decides to use,
Oh
especially the
yeah, we talked
hashtag
about this before.
sports.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's good. Well,
Hashtag sports.
you're big into tagging correctly, whether or not this is podcast or articles on the site. So you should appreciate that she tags things
Yeah.
correctly. That's good.
Hashtag
Power,
power.
fitness. Yeah. I mean, you got a very broad one in sports, and then you have a very narrow one in throws by freaking Scion, a reference to her coach, which is good. In world lead,
Yeah.
carrier record, she's covering it all. Sound mind, sound body, gets her sponsor in there as well, too. Dream team, maybe you search the dream team tag, you see the 92 men's basketball team in Barcelona, but you also see Valerie Allman and Zeb Sion. You see
Yeah.
both right there, all for one price of the hashtag. It's good. All right. Great North Run. Let's talk Great North Run. Let's go to the roads here for a moment, Gordon. This was live on FloTrack. You can see the archive of the race. Helen Obiri wins the women's title. On the men's side of things, it was Mark Scott outlasting Edward Cheserek with Galen Rupp in third. 1:01:22 for Mark Scott, 9 seconds over Ches. Rupp was back. Rupp was battling with that second group and ultimately finishes 20 seconds back in 1:01:52. What did you think? I mean, we had Scott. This was his third half marathon, come off a track season where he showed a lot of promise early on, then got banged up. Cheserek hasn't been competing as much. This was his debut, and then you have Rupp tuning up for a full marathon. So 3 people in the top 3 spots coming from all different angles in terms of preparation and their season thus far.
Yeah, I mean, Scott winning makes sense. He has the most kind of experience compared to Cheserek, obviously, and also being on, in his home country, it's a little more motivation. You kind of you get up for that. Look, he's like cheering on the crowd as he come down the home stretch. He wanted to do well here. So Scott winning makes sense. I was very impressed with Cheserek. This is his half marathon debut. 61 something is a pretty good starting point for him. And it gets me really excited to see, all right, when is he going to do his marathon and what type of marathoner can he become? So I'm excited for that. And then Rupp, obviously, he's coming off the Olympics. So it's not really expected for him to be throwing down anything crazy like a 60 or 59 or anything like that. He's just trying to get his body right in a quick turnaround for Chicago. When I talked to the coach, Mike Smith told me, he was like, yeah, he's just trying to get another race in his legs, kind of get the Olympics out of the legs and get a new race in it, and kind of get ready for Chicago. You can't just go cold turkey into another marathon. You got to have a race or two in between.
Mm-hmm. And he managed to beat Smith, who was wearing salmon-colored shorts. So for Rupp, you want to make sure you hold the line. Don't let anybody with salmon-colored shorts beat you. I thought Scott. Yeah, sure.
Here's a question. How do you think this photo right here originated? Like, how do you think they got these 3 guys to put their hands up like that? Like, who do you think? It seems like a very awkward photo of the athletes putting their hands up, like in a victory form. I don't know. This is kind of random to you?
Yeah. So for those of you who are listening and not watching, there's a finish line shot of the 3. Mark Scott's in the middle. His arms are at a 90-degree angle with the number 1 finger up. You have Rupp, his hands straight up and clenched fists, so they're all the way above his head. And then you have Cheserek, similar to Rupp, but elbows a little bit bent, so they don't really look in unison at all. Here's what I think happened. Someone was a photographer or somebody else was yelling what to do at them. And they're like, hey, put your hands up, put your hands up, put your hands up. And then this is the end result. Because that's what happens a lot of time. Photographers or media personnel at the finish line want to create these shots, and this is what you get. This does look extremely awkward. Also, you can tell the difference between the people who are used to running on the road versus people used to running on the track in the way they celebrate. Because Mark Scott, if you watch that finish, he did like 3 different cycles of a celebration because I don't think he knew how close he was to the actual finish line. Whereas if he's at the track, he knows, okay, I'll just pump do one last look with 50 meters, then pump my fist and go across. He just kept going through. He was like asking for more noise, and he's pumping his fist, and he's doing that. And then he's like, wait a minute, I'm still going? Okay, guess I got to do that thing again. Wait, Chesarek's not going to catch me, is he? All right, let me just pump my fist one more time. And then he goes across the line. A little more seasoning on the road, and he'll just be like Kipchoge. He'll just do that, a couple fist pumps, and then fly across the finish line, and he'll be all good. Serious question though on Ches before we move on. What's his best event? What's his future?
I mean, you have to. I don't know what his best event is yet because you never know what a marathon's going to do to someone. It could be the best thing that ever happened to them or the worst thing that they've ever done to themselves. So, I'm just excited for he's going to do it eventually, and you just want to know, like, is he going to be like a 210 guy, or can he find a way to be like a 206, 205 guy? And you're like, whoa, I didn't, because he has talent. We've seen what he did at all of his Oregon days. He's able to run. He has a fast 5K and 10K to his name, but he just hasn't had. Yeah, obviously the mile. You just have to see. You just want to see. I think he's kind of in love with the track, right? And you kind of want to use up all of your years of track capability first before you bother going to the roads. But with Ches, the way his post-collegiate career worked out with not really having the citizenship thing figured out, whether he was going to compete for Kenya or US, that kind of pushed back his track opportunities. And then obviously pandemic pushed it back for everyone. I think maybe he's probably having a moment like, hey, maybe I should think about the marathon more seriously and look at that as a new way to kind of reset my career as a post-collegiate athlete of like, all right, new challenge. Maybe this is the place where I can thrive the way I was thriving in the NCAA level.
He was good at everything. Because you think of him, oh, wow, he wins all these NCAA cross-country titles, but then you remember what he did in the mile in college too. And then in that 2018 season where he ran the 3:49 mile, he also ripped off a really good 3K. And you're like, all right, well, this is going to be his best race. But now you look and he's 27 and his PB in the 5K is 13:04. And you're thinking, all right, well, 13:04 isn't what it used to. And then you're looking at these Olympic finals filled with former NCAA guys. And you're thinking, okay, well, he could be in there with these guys. Yeah. Fisher, right? Fisher, McDonald, guys like that.
Yeah.
Justin Knight, and you just wonder, okay, when is that race going to come? And you're right, he's had to deal with obstacles that those other athletes haven't had to deal with, which has certainly impacted him greatly. But he has the talent to be there. I think at this point, it's just finding the right event. So those 1,500 mile times, the outdoor ones are a bit misleading because he has the 3:49 from BU indoors, which is what really sets him apart or really shows his true ability was those indoor marks, right? And the 7:38 indoor, I remember that one. That was that stretch where he was just on absolute fire as a professional runner. I wonder where it's going to come from because, listen, not everybody is Sifan Hassan and has this crazy range. But if you're trying to search for an event, okay, what is it? I mean, running 3:49 in the mile and then doing a half marathon as well as he did here too, you're thinking, all right, well, there's got to be something, right? Yeah. There's got to be something that, eventually you got to choose one thing because I don't think any pro runner wants to be. They would trade being top 10 or top 15 in a lot of events for being top 3 in one event. Because that's where the real purpose of someone's career is. We mentioned the women briefly. Obiri, 6-second win over Ailish McColgan, who's had a solid season. Obiri, she's got pretty good range, formerly 1,500, then moves up 5:10, and then now showing her ability at the half marathon. Charlotte Purdue was third, but a ways back than Loketti. Scott, Molly Seidel, 1:11:55. for 7th. I look at her run and I look at Rupp's run pretty similarly in that it's a half marathon in training for a full marathon. And those I think are the races that you can take the least amount from. Like they give you the least definitive conclusions because sometimes they run them too fast and then their marathon is flat, and then sometimes they run them slow and they a couple weeks later they run a full marathon at close to the same pace and you're just like, wait, what?
Yeah, you see this Instagram Molly Seidel posted before the half. It's like the
Yeah, yeah.
10-year anniversary of Ches and Molly winning the Foot Locker, and now they're
That's
in Europe running a half marathon.
that's pretty
It's
cool.
kind of wild.
That's pretty
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool because longevity is not guaranteed in the sport, especially for people who win Foot Locker titles, and they've both had incredible journeys to get there. All right, so now we have the women's picture at the finish line. Let's compare and contrast this one. So you have Obiri. Okay, so Obiri's doing the same thing in the middle as Mark Scott. So this must have been something that was discussed prior to, or the communication was clear. Let's zoom in a little bit if we can on this. So Obiri's in the middle with the 90-degree angle and the number 1 fingers. But then you have McColgan, who's to Obiri's right, just with one arm up, holding a water bottle, right angle on the arm, and their left arm down. It's symmetrical, right? Because then Purdue's on the left side and her left hand is up, making a 90-degree angle.
You know what I think happened here? I think these road pictures are used to being taken with flags.
So everybody's more awkward when they're not holding it.
It's awkward because they have no nothing to hold. Like if you were to Photoshop flags into the Cheserek Rupp Mark Scott photo, it would look normal because it would just be holding flags behind them. Same thing here. I think it's the awkward of thing. Like you're supposed to give me something to hold. You know,
yeah, that's true.
And the women here are trying to do it with their water bottles, but it's not working. You know?
Well, okay, so I'm looking now. Yeah, Obiri's holding a water bottle and then a thumbs up. So she's not putting a number 1 finger up. Because Mark Scott and Helen Obiri are an advantage in this situation because they won. So they can put up the number 1 finger. They can do something with their body. Rupp, Ches, right? They're doing fists because Rupp's not going to hold up a number 3 and Ches is not going to put up a number 2. So instead they just literally are doing the old double fist here and putting them up in the sky. I think you're right about the flags.
Yeah. Ches isn't even looking. Ches isn't even looking at the photo.
Yeah.
Look at Ches. He's not even looking. Like the person who yelled, "Put your hands up." Ches is like looking over to the left. It's just an awkward photo altogether.
Yeah, two different setups. I think similar motivations on both. 2 different results, both very awkward. I think this is a hilarious. Like Charlotte Purdue is like waving, and then Eilish McColgan looks like she's gonna sell the water that she's holding in her right hand. Like it looks like she's doing
2
an
for
ad.
4, 3 for 6.
Yeah. Yeah, she's outside a game or something. But she's just like, or she's doing product placement for this water. Beery's got the thumbs up at another water. Yeah, it is funny. Right after, there's always that awkward thing too, where right after they want to get the finish line photo and they just do a marathon and they're exhausted, and the race director or the media coordinator is like, "Here, hold up this flag right away," like as they're stumbling. But this was not much better. I love it. Okay, let's go to what's next, Gordon.
Controversy.
Oh,
let's talk about the controversy.
This is my favorite story of the weekend. This made headlines in mainstream press. AP, Reuters, both wrote about it. At the Vienna Marathon, Darara Harissa, Ethiopian runner, won the Vienna City Marathon, but afterwards, Gordon was disqualified when they realized that his soles were too thick. Remember, they instituted the stack height limits in previous years as part of the super shoot era, 40 millimeters. Well, his were too big. So he won the race in 2:09:22. And it says 45 minutes later, according to the Reuters article, they had to disqualify him. So a couple different thoughts and theories on this, and I want to get your opinion. So according to the Reuters article, the coordinator, Hans Longer, says, we stress in the technical meeting the rules about the shoes. Unfortunately, we had no other choice in disqualifying the athlete. It's the first time something like this happened. I'm pretty sure that from now on, there will be some form of checks to avoid something like this to happen again in a major race, which surprised me because I thought, hey, aren't they already checking these things? But I guess their whole approach is you go to the technical meeting, you show them your shoes, and they're like, okay, those are cool, but they're not checking the morning of the race. They're just going to DQ you after the fact once they look at your shoes, which was surprising to me. And everyone's like, oh, it's so hard. You can't check everybody's shoes. Well, no, you don't need to check the shoes of the people running 3 hours. You just check the elite field. And they do this in high school track meets in the US, and I'm sure worldwide all the time with the length of the spikes. Someone can be there checking the shoes and making sure they conform. So this leaves me with 3 theories here, Gordon. One, he just forgot, right? Because Adidas makes a trainer. I think Nike makes a trainer too that's above the allowable limit. And then there's the racer that's under the allowable limit. One, he forgot, right? Had the 2 pairs of shoes, just put them on. 2, he didn't forget and was always planning on wearing them. And then the shoes that he brought to the technical meeting were different. Or 3, this was intentional to get us to show this pair of Adidas shoes and for media to talk about this pair of Adidas shoes. What do you think it is?
Well, first of all, we got to throw out number 3. It is not a viral marketing scheme because I'm telling you, Adidas is not thinking about the Vienna City Marathon 209 runner as their
You don't
catalyst for
think it's
promoting
you don't
their
think it's
future
gonna
products.
convince you don't think it's gonna convince people in an era of 159, like, ooh, look at this super shoe. The guy ran 209. You don't
Yeah,
think that's
no.
persuasive?
So it's not. So I think, I think he was trying to cheat. I don't think he's cheating because I don't put the super shoe stuff, all that. But I think he was trying to break the rules. I think he's like, oh, show them that. All right, they're the same color. They're not going to double check. I'm good. I'm going to run home, take the shoes off, switch them out. I'll be good. I think. I don't think it. You know if you're wearing 2 different types of shoes. I know if I'm wearing one pair versus the other. You're not going to mix
Mm.
them up. You know that they're different for a reason. So I think it was a malicious intent. Um, but it's crazy the 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 hoops and ladders you go through just to run a 209 marathon, right? You know, I mean,
Hmm.
it worked. He won. He could have got prize money for the win, but he's not doing that. I'm sure he regrets it.
Yeah.
And I bet you he probably would have still won if he wore the other damn shoes. I think
Yeah, there's not
talent
much of
is
a difference.
talent. Yeah, there's not much
Well, one
difference. He's like, come on, man.
39 to 42 or whatever these ended up being. And I mean,
Yeah, 39
he's
millimeters to 42 millimeters. Is it? Yeah.
so he was, I looked him up, PB 208. So again, putting on the taller shoes and running slower, I don't think is the viral marketing campaign that they were going for. Again, but it gets people talking. But I would have done it if I was going for a stunt here. I would have done it with somebody who could smash a record. My other thoughts: one, that's a really long way to run to get DQ'd and to have no prize money. 2, if the protocol is like this on every major marathon, I'm glad something like this happened at a lower stakes race, because if this happened at a major with nobody checking,
Yeah.
if we're gonna, take the race director's word here, and he's like, I guess we're actually gonna have to start checking shoes. Yeah, yeah, you should. That's something you should do. You should definitely check the equipment before they start competing, because if this happened in a race where a whole bunch more money was at stake, and instead of having a 208 or 209 person running, you had a bunch of 202s, 203s, and you had to DQ someone after the fact, that would be much more unfortunate. You can avoid all this. Just have them, when they do the gear check, check their shoes and have your
So,
little measuring tape.
well, the thing is, though, you don't want to do it in the beginning of the race because it's like they're all getting ready. You have to find a way to like watermark the shoe the day before, being like, okay, we approved the shoe, and we need to have a way to know that you're using the shoe on the starting line. So you could put like a little like zip tie that is unique, that can't be duplicated to other shoes, or like a
Okay.
stamp. I think a stamp would be cool. You have like a Boston Marathon logo stamp that only
Hmm.
there's only one stamp in the entire world, and it's the one person at the clerking table. And they stamp the white part, and they know this stamp can't be duplicated.
Okay. I like it. And that's cool. and that's commemorative, and you've just managed to monetize it too because you can sell the stamp. I like that. It's good
Yeah.
entrepreneurial spirit. But also, you could have the clerk sit there because you know how these marathons go. They wait around for a long time, and they'd show up in their uniform, and you'd be like, measure the shoes, and if your shoes aren't legal, get out of here. And if they are, go start the race. And you can go line up in the corral and stand there for 20 minutes. Or maybe if you forgot them and you accidentally brought the 60 millimeter jumbo ones and you're out there, in heels, then you run to your coach and get the other ones and bring them. This, of all the debate and drama and controversy around shoes, this seemed like the easiest thing to fix. It's like if you've made a rule, you can fix it. Track and field, they love rules. They figure out how to DQ 10 high school kids a year from state championships because of jewelry or mismatched uniforms. They can figure this out.
Yeah. I do think he thought that, oh, it's just like they're not going to check. It's a threat that they're not going to actually follow up on. And he's like, oh
Mhm.
shit, they're actually checking. And he's like, dang it, I thought I could get away with it. Because if he probably would have finished 10th, no one would have said anything too. Because I'm sure they only checked the shoes of the people they were giving prize money to. Because that's like a financial
Yeah,
reason. Who
yeah.
cares if you got 10th or not? Um, and he kind of got caught with his shoes on. He got caught with his shoes on.
That that folks is a Gordon special
Is
there.
that a t-shirt? Is that a t-shirt line? I got caught with my
Yeah.
shoes on.
Get Lincoln to start doing the merch. All right, we got two. Well, I'll just Fifth Ave, Gemma Riki, Jake Whiteman win. So good weekend for Team GB, by the way, with Riki, Whiteman, and Mark Scott. US 10
Oh,
mile now.
I have a galaxy brain theory on the Fifth Avenue Mile. You ready?
Okay,
It wasn't my idea. This idea was given to me by someone I know. I'm not sure if this
you're gonna
person
give.
wants me to give them credit for it, so I'm just going to say it and let it go be out there in the universe. So this race was the same weekend as another road race that Jenny Simpson ran in, where she got second at the 10 miler in Washington,
Yeah,
D.C.
yeah.
So great race for Jenny, second place. It
Mm-hmm.
was probably a race that she probably could have won. The person she lost to doesn't have the same type of resume as Jenny Simpson. But Jenny had won how many straight of these meets,
Oh,
these
it
runs?
it it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's a long
It's like a
list.
perfect streak.
Yeah,
But clearly she was
yeah,
able to run that weekend.
yeah.
Do you think she didn't run at Fifth Ave because she wanted to protect her streak and let the beginning, middle, and end just be perfection and not end with like, oh, the last one, it was a sixth place finish? Like, do you think she purposely didn't
I
run to protect her Fifth Avenue legacy?
No, I think she wanted to run. I think this is the sign. This is the clear. This is we're seeing a transition. I think in her career to longer distances. I don't know if it's going to go all the way to the road, but I think this is her making a choice between the two races, and this is where she's at in her career.
I think it's got to keep that. You don't want the blemish. It's like Elway, go out on top with the Super Bowl
Oh,
and
I
then
don't
come
blame her for
back
doing that. Yeah, yeah, I don't
and
blame her
finish
for doing
500.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. If they weren't on the same weekend, like what's the point if she doesn't think she can compete at in this mile distance and it serves no purpose? What's the point of her running it then? Yeah, you might as well keep the streak. Streaks are great. I love streaks. Everybody loves streaks, so keep the streak.
Yeah.
But it's like eventually, so I don't know. Say someone had a consecutive years winning the 1500 or something at USA's or 800 or something, but it's clear that that's not their distance anymore. I mean, there's eventually going to be a championship where they move up, and I think that's where, or move to a different event. I think that's where she's at in her career. But like, what would doing a road mile at this point in her season? What purpose would that serve? In previous years, it made a bunch of sense because she'd been running really fast in the mile and 1500 all summer. So go back, do one more, and end with a victory. This year, that wasn't the case. She's transitioning to something else, at least for the short term. So what's the point of running the mile? There's no there's no valor. I know you like to talk about like you give people credit for showing up even when they know they're going to get beat, and I get that. Um, but like if there's no purpose to run the race to begin with, then I don't blame anybody for being like, why go there and get 7th or 8th or something when I could do a 10 mile and push myself in a different
Yeah.
direction. Yeah.
So do you
Anyway,
think Jenny's 10 mile at DC can give you any inclination? Is that the right word? I don't know if that's a word or not.
inclination's a word. Yeah. Inclination's a word.
Inclination into a
Oh, you want
potential
insight.
long
Insight. You want
distance career for Jenny Simpson. Not a long distance career that's like showing up and high five because you're a legacy athlete. I'm talking
yeah.
about being able to be in top 3 fitness, whether it's in a marathon or a 10K,
Mm.
5K.
What so you're saying, was this one fast enough to prove that?
Yeah. Maybe
I
not
think
fast
it
enough,
was
but like solid enough.
I think it was solid. I think we need more. I think we need to see more. And I don't know how long she's been gearing towards the longer stuff. I remember when I interviewed her at the beginning, April maybe, she took pride in not like sticking with her event and not being basically run out of the event. She switched once from the steeple to the 15, but then made all those 1,500-meter teams. So I think she's acutely aware of, hey, the goal here is to make teams and optimize the ability I have left. Is that in the 5 and 10? Are you thinking something longer? Or are you talking like 5 and 10?
I don't know, 5'10".
It
Is she
seems
gonna
really
like try to
hard.
go like the Molly Huddle route and start hitting up all those USATF 15K, 20K, 12.892K, 12K of minus a third?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They have so many road
Uh,
race distances. It's
square
ridiculous.
the square root K. That I could
There's a
see.
7K.
That
I know there's a 7K, which is ridiculous. I'm like, what are we doing here? Why do we have a
yeah.
7K?
That I could see. Well, it's somebody's best distance, so you just don't know who that person is until they run it. At this point in her career, it seems tough to go with how long and how well she's run the 1500. It just seems real tough to be able to jump all the way up to the marathon at this point in her career. But those road race distances that you mentioned, and then maybe 5 and 10 on the track, I could see her making a go at that in 2022 for sure.
I think it would be most exciting to see Jenny run a 10K. I think that would be the thing that I'll get most excited because we've seen her in the 5. We know what she can do. We know she can
Yeah.
be in the 15 flat, maybe at her best 1450 range. But like 10K is like that race where it's like, ooh, what happens when you take her
Mhm.
raw talent and her incredible years of success and throw it all into a 10K?
Yeah. Well, you look at the fives. I mean, 2020 she ran one. It was indoors. 19 mostly indoors. Her last, what I would say, serious sort of in the prime of a season and a fast opportunity was 2013 when she ran 14:56. So was that the best chance for her to run a fast 5K? Maybe you could say because she's so much younger, but also in many ways she got better since that time too. But I agree, 10K is enough of a jump up to where we could see her thrive, and I think it looks like she's kind of trending in that direction. Um, let's have you lead the way on these previews. We have Zagreb and Bellinzona coming up here on the Continental Tour. What are you looking for?
So for clipping purposes, we're going to do a mega preview. This is the mega Zagreb Bellinzona preview, both live on FloTrack on the 14th. So it's on Tuesday. So by the time you see this, hopefully it's not Tuesday yet. Hopefully it's Tuesday morning or Monday night. I don't know. Or now, because you're watching this live now. But Zagreb, we got Jackson versus Mboma. Once again, Mboma has gotten the best of Jackson twice now in the 200. So this is the trilogy. Can
Mhm.
Jackson get Mboma? Can we see another fast time? They've been running the 21.8s, 21.7s. Can we see another repeat of that? Or can we see something even better? I don't know. They're running out of races to go fast. So maybe they put all their eggs in this one final 200-meter basket. That's going to be an
Mhm.
exciting matchup to watch live on Flow. 100th, though, on the men's side, it's also going to be pretty juicy at Zagreb. You got Baker, you got Bromell, you got Bracey, you got the Triple Bs going at it. One of these guys isn't making the 2022 World Team. Will this be a way for us to decide who that's going to be? Is a third place finisher in the Baker, Bromell, Bracey matchup going to be the person who finishes fourth at the 2022 championships? Because we know Curly's going, right? We know Christian Coleman's going. There's only 2 spots left. So
wow, you're making the team right now. I'm making the team
right now.
In September of 2021.
Wow. You better not get third in this race, boys. It's a triple
Raising
B matchup for yes. Then moving over to Bellinzona, which is in Switzerland. We have another 100. We got Curly, DeGrasse, Gatlin. I kind of like it. We got splitting up the hundreds. You have a good 100 in Zagreb and you have a good 100 in Bellinzona. First of all, before I keep on going on this Bellinzona preview, I never heard of the city Bellinzona, but it has a great name. Bellinzona, love it. Great city name. Top 10 in my opinion, especially in Europe. Anyway, Curly, DeGrasse, Gatlin. Here we go. I know we already did this.
We did it already.
Who's the best sprinter between Curly, DeGrasse, and Bednarik? Bednarik chose not to show up. So now here we go. Curly, DeGrasse for all the marbles. This is a tiebreaker. Whoever wins this is the best sprinter in 2021. Gatlin has said that this is his last race. However, he's also in the Nairobi 100 next on Saturday. So this may not be his last race, but it also might be his last race. So because we don't know, you should watch it to find out because you don't want to miss it. You know, you want to watch it or you don't want to think that he's going to run again and then miss it. So Gatlin's final 100, you got to watch it live on Flow. Again, both of these meets live on Flow on Tuesday. And then Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price. She's going to be there. She skipped the Diamond League. She skipped the Diamond League for the Bellinzona meet. You know what that means?
She likes the name of the city too.
1, she likes the name of the city. But 2, she wants to run fast one last time. We're talking 10.6s, baby. We're talking 10.6s. We're going to see it from Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price. She wants to be able to have the last, headline, right? She let Elaine Thompson have the headlines at the Olympics, had the headline against Sha'Carri, had the headline at Diamond League, but then maybe the last great Jamaican 100 that we see is going to be headlined by Shelly-Ann. So she's timing it perfectly. She's like, ooh, you're going to zig? I'm zagging to Bellinzona. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price. So watch both of these live on FloTrack, September 14th. If it's not September 14th anymore and you're watching this video on YouTube and it's September 15th,
go back and
watch the replay. Just watch the replay. The archives are also on FloTrack, and we also throw them up on our YouTube channel sometimes. So get all the content. That is the Mega Zagreb Bellinzona preview.
That was good. Well done.
That good?
I think you covered it all. I can't top it. That was strong. Yeah, you basically said if you want to win any medal again in your career, you need to win in these 2 meets.
Yes.
No pressure.
That's how it works.
If you want to make a single dollar again in track and field, you have to perform on September 14th. All right. I guess we'll leave it there then. You covered it.
Remember the 14th of September. That's what they say.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, remember the 5th of November.
Okay.
V for Vendetta. The whole. Okay.
All right.
I lost
there we go.
I lost you.
We're ending on a high note.
Play the music.
We should have quit while we're ahead. Thanks, Colt.
Yes.
Thanks, Travis.
Like and
Thanks,
subscribe.
everybody.
Download the podcast. Do all this stuff. Bye, everyone.